Welcome, readers. Today on Book Chat, joining me is my Buddy Reads co-host, Classy Green. We'll be discussing the audiobook version of the thriller titled Dear Wife by Kimberly Belle. Stay tuned. Hey everyone, I am your host, Tamara Ford, and thank you for downloading this month's Buddy Read discussion featured here on the Shelf Addiction podcast. Every week we get bookish with book discussions, 5-minute shelf bites, interviews, and more. If you are new here and you're wondering what is a Buddy Read, this feature is where Classy and I select a standalone title that we're both interested in. Then we have a candid conversation about the book or audiobook. We even discuss it in our Facebook group, Shelf Addiction Official, during a live chat. So grab a glass of wine, a cocktail, a cup of tea, or whatever your drink of choice is, and settle in for this fun discussion. As always with book chats, there is a spoiler alert in effect. You've been warned. Don't miss our movie adaptation fantasy casting toward the end of the podcast. If you enjoyed today's episode, please support the podcast by sharing it with one book nerd friend or on your favorite social media space. That would really help me out, and I appreciate you. You can find both Classy and myself on Instagram and Twitter. If you've read the book or listened to the audiobook and would like to contribute to the conversation, be sure to join the Shelf Addiction Official Facebook group. I hope to hear your thoughts on this discussion. The links for everything I've mentioned are below in the show notes. Welcome back, guys. We've got a lot to talk about, so we're going to jump right on in. Joining me is the Buddy Reads co-host, Classy Green. Welcome back.
Hi, Tamara.
Hey.
Hi, friends.
Today we are talking about Dear Wife by Kimberly Belle, narrated by Vivian Laney, Chris Andrew Shula, and Pete Simonelli. The audio length was 9 hours and 37 minutes, and this was released June 25th, 2019 by Harlequin Audio. So, Classy, why don't you give us the synopsis?
Okay, I am reading the synopsis from Goodreads. From the best-selling author of The Marriage Lie and 3 Days Missing comes a riveting new novel. Beth Murphy is on the run. For nearly a year, Beth has been planning for this day, a day some people might call any other Wednesday, but Beth prefers to see it as her new beginning, one with a new look, new name, and new city. Beth has given her plan significant thought because one small slip and her violent husband will find her. Sabine Hardison is missing. A couple 100 miles away, Jeffrey returns home from a work trip to find his wife Sabine is missing. Wherever she is, she's taken almost nothing with her. Her abandoned car is the only evidence the police have, and all signs point to foul play. As the police search for leads, the case becomes more and more convoluted. Sabine's carefully laid plans for her future indicate trouble at home and a husband who would be better off with her gone. The detective on the case will stop at nothing to find out what happened and bring this missing woman home. Where is Sabine? And who is Beth? The only thing that's certain is that someone is lying, and the truth won't stay buried for long. Yeah.
Okay. So we want to let you guys know two things. One, this was the first time we had a vote for the book. So this book was voted on between this and The Silent Patient, right? That was the other book.
Yes.
So this was the winner. So that's why we chose this. Classy and I narrowed it down to those two based on reviews and synopsis and stuff. And then this was voted on and chosen. And second, although we always give our unfiltered opinion, we haven't even talked about this book together first.
No.
So we are really fresh to each other's opinions on this one. And I'm curious to see if we fall on the same side.
I know. You too. I think the only thing we chatted about was how far are you? That was it.
Yeah.
And I was following you from your playbook, trying to have it fresh on my mind, where I finished it. I finished the book today.
Okay.
Early this morning, I finished it. So it is fresh.
Okay, wonderful. Because I finished it. So we're recording on a Wednesday. I finished it yesterday morning. So It's still pretty fresh.
Right.
So there's a lot. Okay, so where shall we start? We do this every time. It's like, oh gosh. Okay, let me just make this general statement. And of course, you guys know, spoiler alert. So I said that probably a few times already in the intro. So don't be mad.
Right.
Um, I kind of felt the whole time that Beth and Sabine were different people. Or, I did. Uh, just something wasn't jiving for me. And at first I thought this had like Sleeping with the Enemy vibes or Gone Girl vibes. But I want to say pretty quickly, like 20 or 25% in, I was like, in my mind, something was nagging me about Beth. And I knew that they couldn't be the same person, but I couldn't figure out how I knew that until much later. What about you? Did you think they were the same?
I thought something was fishy as well, and I couldn't figure it out because I'm trying to think. There was just some things in the story that, like you said, and it wasn't like Kimberly Belle, her writing style made it seem like it was fishy, because I enjoyed that, but it was just something about the story, and I was having doubts of the twins.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, are they twins? Are they not twins?
Hmm.
Because, and again, that was that red herring, I believe, that the author threw at us, because, granted they were, Ingrid and Sabine were fraternal twins, but I mean, they were
Night and day.
total opposites.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, are they really twins? Do we really know? Because, there was always the doubt. But yeah.
And that's funny that you thought of that because I just disregarded the twin thing. I'm like, okay, they're twins next. I didn't even
Okay.
think about it.
Okay. Yeah, no, because she threw that out there a lot, like how polar opposites they were. One had, Ingrid had the bad skin, well, not bad skin, but she had red skin, the rosacea, peach fuzz kind of, her hair was kind of fuzzy. She was sturdier. Um, and
Like Sabine was like the prom queen, and
right,
the other was,
perky blonde,
yeah.
yeah. And
Mm-hmm.
and I was like, okay, and it was something else that she stated that I wasn't too positive if they were twins. So, or I mean, or yeah, that they were two separate people.
So you
But
thought that Sabine and her sister were lying about being twins?
um, at one point, and then I said, no, it can't be that. It
Mm-hmm.
couldn't be that, because I mean, it seemed like we didn't know a whole lot about Sabine's background. Well, and neither we know of Jeffrey's. We just kind of knew. But I think, you know what? This is what threw me off. I won't say throw me off. The whole time as we're listening to what I thought was Jeffrey's description, it was actually Marcus. You know what I mean? So I
Mm-hmm.
think
Mm-hmm.
that was the thing that blew my mind. Okay, spoiler. But I'm feeling this thinking, okay, so we know all this about Jeffrey. He's
Well,
tall,
some
dark.
of it was Jeffrey's point of view
Right,
because we have two male narrators here. So some of it was Jeffrey and then some of it was Marcus.
right. But we start off with Beth saying she met her husband at McDonald's. And
Mm-hmm.
you know what I mean? So,
Mm-hmm.
the beginning of the story, I'm thinking Marcus's description that we find out later is Marcus. I thought that was Jeffrey. So I'm like, okay, so we know about Jeffrey's background. He's dark, he's handsome, Italian, but we didn't know a whole lot about Sabine besides the twins, her parents, her dad died early. You know what I mean? It wasn't a whole lot to
Hmm.
me, but I can't, yeah.
Okay. Huh. Well, okay. So I think in how the story sets up with us hearing, from Beth first, again, just kind of like that other book we read, Stranger on the Beach.
Mm.
I feel like by hearing from her first, it sets you up in a way that you just want to instantly just take the woman's side and believe the woman. You know, it makes you not question her, but question everything else. And in
Right.
this case, she was a very reliable narrator. And then you're
Right.
starting to wonder, well, who is this other person? Who is Jeffrey? Why is his story, why does he sound like very different from what she is saying? So instantly, I feel like, okay, not instantly. Let me tell you the exact moment I knew that Jeffrey was not Beth's husband.
Okay.
Okay, the exact moment I knew 100,000% was when it was discovered that he was going to the doctor to get Viagra.
Ah.
I said, that is not her husband. Okay, not her husband. So that is something that like kind of solidified for me that Beth and Sabine were different people.
Okay. So that had to be when Marcus and his friend Jade got the ping, right? That he had gone to the urologist. Is that when? 'Cause that was
Yeah,
pretty far.
yeah. I think it was about 70% when I asked you, how far are
Right.
you? And
Yes.
because I was gonna say something, but you were too far behind. So I'm like, nope, I'm not saying a word.
Right.
Because they figured out that, he was trying to, okay, so Marcus was trying to figure out his alibi. Where were you exactly with these missing hours? And so his little friend did some sleuthing and obviously tracked his phone, and okay, he's in the hospital. And that was before they got the pings off of Beth's phone. Because remember, the doctor boyfriend was coming down on Marcus about not doing what he was supposed to be doing, not covering the bases. He wanted him off the case. After that, he talked to his little friend, and then he was like, hey, I got a hit on one of these phones. And he
Right.
left.
Yeah. I can't remember exactly when I knew or I had the feeling. I it was it might have been before that, but I can't remember. I don't know. I just felt like, and maybe it's just, and this is, I think this is where I'm at with this story, because we've read so many stories with unreliable narrators. So I was trying not to try and figure out the story before it got to the good part, because we've read Gone Girl, and I'm like, please don't let this be another Gone Girl. But
Yeah.
I think it was a point where his timelines didn't match. But I didn't feel like he was lying about his timeline. I mean, it was a little
Who,
hour
Jeffrey?
different. Jeffrey, right? Because
Okay.
remember, he said he was in the park reading.
Yeah, he had 2 hours missing.
Right, but he was running, wasn't he?
Well, he went home. Okay, so after he got home, he went for the run.
Okay.
So he got home after his day, saw she wasn't there, and went out for a run.
Right.
Because that's when he lied to Ingrid
And said he spoke
about.
to her.
Well, right.
Okay. So it was somewhere around there where I felt like something was amiss because of the timelines, and even though it was just a little different, he just didn't, I don't know, he just didn't seem, granted, he was an abuser, but he was a little too type A, I think I would say. He didn't seem like, I don't know.
Well,
Apparently
he
he was
also
abusive, because
he hit her at one time with an open palm, which he elaborated several times. He was like, it was one time.
right.
Okay.
And
So, and
even
I
the
kind of
priest,
did believe it.
and even the story to the priest. Oh no, see, and now again,
That's someone else's
right.
story.
Yep, that's the different story.
That's Beth's
That's
story.
Beth's story. Because the
Yeah.
priest asked her, was it open hand or was it fist, which ticked me the heck off. But she said it was open hand.
At first.
Yeah.
But that's another reason to support why it wasn't Jeffrey. When he was saying, that supports why Beth isn't Jeffrey's wife. Because I believe Jeffrey when he's so anal about everything.
Yeah.
He insisted,
Right.
and her sister claims to know everything. So I'm like, she would have said no, he beat her to the
Right.
police. if
Yeah,
he did and she didn't.
right. And there's been more stories than just the one. In the neighborhood, they say he was a jerk. They never said, like
Yeah.
he had violent. Okay, I
Right.
think he might have ran down somebody's dog, but he was a jerk.
Right.
He was just a plain old jerk.
Right.
And
He's just a mean person.
right. And Ingrid would have, like you said, being a twin, regardless of, she tells me everything in the fight, she would have had the police on Jeffrey a lot quicker. She'd have been more adamant. And, she kind of looked at him like, when he would say the timeline was off, she just kind of gave him that smirk like, 2 hours. Now, if I had
Yeah.
thought you killed my sister, I'd been all over you.
And not only that, but like now thinking about Sabine's life and her situation, it makes it thinking like 50, what they say, hindsight is 50-50, right?
Right.
Because going back, thinking about her storyline, there is every indication that she really was gone and not hiding, because like her phone situation, I'm like, this old girl, like she left her other computer. She was slick with that Gmail. I'm not going to lie. She was slick with having a second phone, a second email, to talk to her lover.
Yeah, she was.
But if you were running, you wouldn't have left that. You would not have left that, because that was like how he could find out what you were doing.
Right. Yeah, I think that was a point too where I something was amiss with the instant messages. Was it the Gmail where he saw the conversations with the doctor? I'm like, ooh.
Yeah, not only that, but I always say the person that makes the money has the power. And that's true in their relationship.
Yeah, it really was.
Beth had the power and he hated it. And that was their thing. And that's why she's like, well, I'm going to go off and hang out with this successful doctor and I'm going to leave you. That was her whole story. And it was cut and dry and it made sense.
Right. And he was jealous of her. I mean, and they mentioned that at the beginning, I think that was another thing that I felt like he was jealous, but he wasn't jealous enough to want to beat her. He was kind of like, when she's talking, he's probably on the phone going blah, 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 with his eyes rolled up to the top of his head or, barely answering her. But I don't think he was to the point that he wanted to kill her. She was just getting on his nerve because, he probably felt emasculated. Here his wife is successful. He told her that, that he didn't think that would work, and she made it happen and turn their life upside down. And like you said, she found someone within her circle of success, like you were saying, and thought she'd go for it. So yeah. So I did. Those were some of the points where I just felt like, okay, Jeffrey is a jerk, but I don't think he's someone that she would want to escape without just telling him. Trying to, because on the other point was, if this woman loved that doctor so much as he loved her, and they were supposed to tell, their significant others that weekend, why is she trying to escape from Dr. Trevor? I can't remember his last name, but you know what I mean? If she loves him and pregnant, something that she had been trying to do with Jeffrey, why is she, who is she escaping from?
Right. That didn't make sense at all.
Right. Now, but at the point, at the time when I was listening to this story, I was enthralled. I'll tell you, there was not a moment to me that I think like there was a lull. There was never a lull moment for me.
No, I agree with that. It definitely was intense, but I think it was more intense for me because I was looking for the missing clue the whole time.
Yeah.
Like early on, I felt like Beth wasn't Sabine.
Yeah.
So the whole time I was listening for like someone's going to say something that's going to clue me in.
And that's how I felt. I was writing notes because I felt like too where I had to go back a few times because like you, I felt like I'm missing something. And kind of like when you're studying for an exam and you're like, something is missing. Like you said, the puzzle pieces aren't fitting. And this, I
Mm-hmm.
would probably say, out of all the books we've read thus far, this is probably the one I wrote the most notes on.
Mm.
It is, because I just felt like, yeah, it was just a lot. She threw a lot at us. She
She did.
threw a lot at us. So, and not to say it was a bad thing, but this was a book where you just couldn't sit and read, listen and do the chores and just go about your day. There were moments where you really needed to pay attention, or you were going to miss something. You were going to
Yeah.
miss something crucial in the story.
Mm-hmm. I also kind of felt like revealing Marcus as a bad guy took too long. So, like, that whole time Marcus was, he seemed like he was, really just on the hunt for Sabine, right?
Mm-hmm.
And trying to figure out what happened to her. But I feel like the moment I felt that his personality changed, and this was again also late in the book, it was when his mother showed up at his house.
Yes.
I'm like, oh, wait, his personality seems a little different. Because, like, earlier, he was trying to be the good guy, taking care of his partner's, left behind widow, you know what I mean?
Yep.
Doing all these nice things and going to family dinners. But that scene when the mother was in the house and he was making up this lie and she looking at him like,
right.
Where is she?
Matter of fact, now that you say that, that moment when he said, his wife, which was what, Emma? Yeah, Emma.
Yeah, Emma.
At the, I don't know what holiday it was, and he threw some napkins at her and she freaked out. And I was like,
Mm-hmm.
whoa, you just don't freak out because somebody threw some napkins at you.
No, you thought something hard was coming at your head.
Yes. You were ducking out of muscle memory.
I mean,
yeah.
that sounded like they was scrapping, man. I mean, I'm like, wow, I
Yeah.
couldn't believe.
But again, she glossed over that really quick and moved on to something else. The author, I'm saying her, the author, she mentioned it and glossed over it. And then we went back to, she was sick. She just wasn't feeling good. Oh, and she didn't stick to that. She didn't go into detail any further. And yeah, it did get a little,
because there were none. He was lying.
Yeah, he was the whole time. And he was the good uncle to the niece who had leukemia. He was, the great brother, the great son. And again, here he was, an abusive husband, cop by day, abusive husband by night.
Yeah, he was pretty asinine, to be honest.
Yeah.
I'm like, and the sad part is when it all came out, at the end there, like we really got the full story from Beth's point of view, or Emma's point of view, and it seemed like his family knew. And thinking back to that same scene where the mother was in the house, she was like, I'll take care of things here. You just go fix this.
Right. You don't let her go anywhere. You take care of she did.
She knew.
She did. And I think the other time where I really knew that he was a jerk was when, God, what did he do? Remember when he discovered, when he got to the church and he faked saying he was in construction, and he talked to the reverend and found out about Martina, and then he was like, I can't remember her friend's name, and he said, Beth and blah blah blah, and then he said, that bitch, and I was like, why is he calling Sabine a bitch?
Right.
I'm like, you're a cop, why are you so upset with Sabine? That was another moment, but it still didn't click yet. But I'm like, something's not right.
Lord, at that point, I knew. At that point, I knew. I already knew, because I'm like, I'm like, that is not at that. Yeah, I knew before then.
Okay.
I'm like, oh, he's going after Beth,
Mm-hmm.
his
Yeah, I
wife.
was like, wow, why is he calling her? And then I was like, oh, you just don't call a missing person that you're trying to find a
No.
bitch. What is wrong here? So yeah.
Yeah. And I could see how things could get a little convoluted because he was using that coworker to follow a lot of different phones. You know, he was trying to do Sabine's phone. He was doing Jeffrey's phone, and he was doing Emma/Beth's phone.
Right.
But I'm telling you, after that meeting between his mother and him at their house, I knew instantly what was what, and I was straightened out right then.
Yeah, it was, and I think, like you were saying, the cover up he had to cover up two stories. He had to cover up the death of Sabine, or the murder of Sabine, and trying to lay tracks to try and, because he was basically trying to frame Jeffrey for that and couldn't. Am I right?
Yeah, it seemed like he was at first trying to blame. He wanted to, I guess, prove that he couldn't confirm his 2 hours missing, so he could blame him.
Right. So here he is trying to do a cover up, or of Sabine's death, and place the blame on Jeffrey, and in the meantime trying to find his wife,
which he was trying to cover that she was missing. He didn't want anyone to know she was gone.
Right. So it was a lot, like you said, between the pings of the phone and the apparently the dumping of Sabine's body, and trying to make sure it was a lot. It was a lot, but I enjoyed it.
I did enjoy it. I feel like the end came abruptly, though. I think that would be my biggest complaint, was that it was 70% of unsurety, and then all of a sudden, really fast, it was this race to the finish.
Right. It was just like, hey, is that your Buick out there? The windows are busted. And I'm like, are you kidding me? Are we going to go there? We going to wrap this up in a little bow?
Yeah, and it turned from her, like, trying to be meticulous about hiding from him into, well, actually, I led you here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I mean,
I'm like, okay.
Not in retrospect, but it kind of, she laid it out, because she did the yelling in the hallway, knowing no one would come out, but someone would say, hey, yeah, I heard her say, drop the gun or whatever. So, I mean, she basically used his own tricks, or, his own police skills on him. She used them to her advantage.
Actually, that was the smartest thing she ever did. Like, everything he tried to, like, talk shit to her about, she used to get what she needed to get. Like, he would make comments about nothing is for free, or, just different things that she used in her tactics when dealing with people as she was doing this. And, I mean, to come to find out, he was taking her to the shooting range, and she was pretty much faking that she didn't know how to shoot.
Exactly. Yep.
Like, that's pretty damn smart.
She was taking notes. I think she said she had done that like for a year. She had been planning and plotting this whole scenario.
Yeah, she was skimming money off the top for, like, groceries and
toilet paper,
other things. Like buying cheaper brands, looking for sales, and just slowly skimming money.
And I think too, that was another part that I was not, where she threw me again, because I'm like, they make all this money. Why is she skimming? And again, you know what? What made me question if Beth and Sabine were the same two people was the amount of money she only had. And I'm thinking, Sabine made the most money in that house, and this woman was a broker selling, major homes. Why did she only take $2,000 with her?
Exactly. And we found out that Sabine had private accounts that Jeffrey didn't even
Yeah.
know about. So she had plenty of
Yeah.
money.
So I'm like, why is she,
So,
just holding on and trying to make this little 2000 stretch? But then, I'm holding on like, okay, give me this plot twist. I'm ready. Come on, Kimberly Belle. What are you going to give me, lady? So yeah. Now when you say it out loud or um, after reading, the end, you're like, yeah, I do. Okay. I did question that, but I was still just waiting, hoping she just maybe like hit me with this big bombshell. And I mean, the ending was okay, but it's not, like you said, it's not what I expected. I thought it was going to be
no.
a little grander, but it wasn't bad.
And it wasn't a plot twist for me, even. The discovery of connecting Beth and Marcus, and was not surprising to me. But what was surprising to me was to learn how Beth and Sabine connected, because immediately after I figured out what was going on with Beth, I'm like, well, how did Beth know
He
Sabine?
mentioned it.
There has to be, well, this is what I thought to myself before I got that
Okay.
far. Okay. So at this point, I had figured out that Beth was not related to, connected to Jeffrey at all. And I knew that Beth and Sabine were different
Okay.
people. But I had yet to come across the scene where she talks about how she met Sabine. So leading into that, I knew I was still missing one more piece. I was thinking, well, how did she know her? Because at that point in the story, she was very wrecked over seeing the death of Sabine, her body being found.
Right.
But at that point, we still did not know what their connection was. So the whole time I'm like, well, why are you so wrecked over this? How did you know her? So that is what was surprising to me, was that Sabine was helping her. That was a nice thing. Like, I didn't expect.
Because I know Marcus does mention early on in the story that Sabine had sold them the house. So, so I knew that he knew Sabine, because he mentioned that eventually he was going to have to tell his chief, that, hey, I know Sabine because she sold us our house, and he thought he was going to get kicked off the case, but he never did disclose that little tidbit. But like you were saying, for you to be that torn up about Sabine missing or, found dead, it was more to the story. You had a major connection to her. Yeah. That is very true.
That was, I think, the biggest quote unquote plot twist for me, because nothing else was surprising.
No, you're right. It really wasn't. Well, besides them two, not being the same person, that was a little surprising for me. I mean, after figuring,
not for you.
Me. Yeah.
I told you I knew early on. I was just trying to sort it out, but I knew.
Yeah. I mean, I knew something was amiss, but I didn't know those two. I didn't get it yet. So, but yeah, to realize that Sabine had really helped her, it was a good twist. It really was. And her demise was just sad. But
like, she helped you and she died for helping you.
Because she had a sicko for a husband. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, I almost felt like, well, I guess she used Jeffrey properly in this story, because at one point it was just like Jeffrey, and then all of a sudden he just fell off.
He didn't matter.
He just fell off. And then,
because once it was revealed that Jeffrey had an alibi, I think he ceased to matter at that point.
He really did. He had nothing, no importance to the story anymore. So now it's like, okay, so now we have to find out who the killer is, which we basically knew. And then I was kind of unsure about the church scene, besides getting the money. Working in the church, working in the church, and the Father and forgiveness. And I mean, I did get that. the safe haven. I got that part. And she needed the extra money and the sun and the kicking. And I was like, okay. There were some points there where I just was like, fillers. I thought they were fillers, especially well, no, because now I think about it, now that I speak it out loud again, like we said, when you speak, after we talk about it, the son was the IT guy. I wonder if because remember he said, I think you are the one who took it, besides her having the key.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Well, I mean, honestly, the church was just happenstance. The church didn't matter. If she had ended up at a restaurant, she would have stole some money.
Oh, true. She needed the money.
Needed him. She needed, well, not that. She needed someone to try to call the police, remember? So she was saying she was shocked that they didn't call the police.
Yeah, that is right.
Because they thought, because in her little leaving breadcrumbs,
right,
she thought that stealing that money would trigger something else for him to come.
And they didn't. They told, we'll leave that drawer open and hopefully they'll put the money back.
And I mean, she did need the money too, but it was really twofold. She really had a purpose for stealing the money.
And at one point, I didn't think she took the money because I'm like, you already have $2,000 in your belt. Why do you need?
Well, she had been going through that, though.
She had to use some of it.
So you thought, I mean, at first, I thought it was maybe Martina because she was already a thief.
And was accused, right. And that's what I thought. And then when they said only Beth and the pastor had the keys, or the other woman in the pastor had the keys and she had access, I was like, okay, she did. But I was, in my heart of hearts, I was like, no, you're trying to get away, but you're not a thief. But then desperate times call for desperate measures. But then, like you said, she was leaving breadcrumbs. She wanted someone to find her.
Yeah, which makes some of the choices she made make more sense.
Yeah. Yeah. Because I almost forgot about not forgot, but at the beginning when she laid the breadcrumbs, but I was just like, she did that to throw them off. That's what we thought, that she laid those to throw them off, but it was actually...
It's like she was playing a chess game because she wanted it to look like she was trying to hide, but not actually hide. So she wanted him to think that she was making these small mistakes, like the dummy that he thinks that she is.
Like Nick said.
And come
like
for
Nick
her.
said, the guy that she paid to use the credit card. That's going to come in handy because people underestimate you. Yeah.
Yeah.
He did mention.
So she was doing two things at once, which is a really amazing plan.
Well, when you think about it, they both were doing two things at once. He was trying to find his wife and trying to cover up the murder that he committed. Wow. Wow. Yeah. All right.
Okay, so is there anything else we should talk about in the plot before we talk about the other things that we have on the agenda?
I think that was, basically it. I don't think there's anything else.
Okay, so we're going to take a quick break, and when we return, we are going to talk about the audiobook narrators. We're going to give our ratings, and last but not least, we are going to do our movie fantasy casting. Stay with us. Today's episode is brought to you by the Shelf Addiction merch store. Check out all the bookish t-shirts, notebooks, mugs, and more. Don't miss out on these original designs, perfect for any book nerd. Support the podcast and visit shelfaddiction.com/merch and pick up your next favorite bookish item. So this audiobook had 3 narrators, which was kind of cool, but what did you think about them having 3 narrators? I knew that 2 were necessary, a female and a male, but I'm not sure we needed a third. I couldn't tell Pete Simonelli from Chris Andrew Shula. I could not tell them apart because I guess maybe just how the chapters fell. I just thought that that was one man changing his
Right.
as narrators
Mhm.
do, right? They use different voices for
Yes.
different people. So until I looked up the information, I thought it was just one male narrator.
Oh.
Did you know it was two ahead of time,
No,
or
I
did you
did know it
just
was 2. I knew it was just
is it
because of listening at the beginning, that I knew that there were
okay?
2 men. Um,
See, and I glaze over that. I'm like, I didn't even listen to the intro. I'm ready to go. I didn't
let's
even,
go. Chop, chop.
like, oh, so you could tell the difference between Chris and
Marcus's
Pete.
voice was a little deeper. Um, whoever
Uh-huh.
did Jeffrey's voice annoyed the hell out of me. So I did, I did notice that there was 2 male voices and the woman. So yeah, I could tell the difference because whoever did Jeffrey's voice was very high pitched, and it almost was at one point where I thought it was the woman doing Jeffrey's voice, but I knew
Well, she might have if she was saying something from
point of view.
Beth's
Yeah,
point of view.
but and that was the thing, and I think I went back and looked briefly because the male voice when he was like trying to imitate either Ingrid, not imitate. Yeah, I think he was imitating or like kind of mocking Ingrid or Sabine, and it was kind of and I was like, oh no. No, 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 no. Yeah, it was yeah. So I did know that there was 2 males. Yeah, and I think they could have done fine with the woman, and I would have appreciated the woman doing Jeffrey's voice and all the women's voices, and whoever did Marcus, I was okay with their voice because it was a nice deeper voice.
So who do you think did the doctor's voice? So they just all kind of, because he didn't have his own chapter. So I guess they all did their own version of the doctor when they had
Right.
interaction with them.
Um,
Because Jeffrey had interaction with
right.
the doctor. Remember that
Yeah.
confrontation? And Marcus had interaction with the doctor.
Again, Jeffrey's imitation was whiny. And I mean, it kind of fit with the doctor. He was, I mean, granted, he was torn apart. That Sabine was missing, but it was a little, I thought it was a little sophomoric. Whoever, and I don't know which one did Jeffrey, if it was Shula or Salmon, I don't know. But
you didn't think the doctor sounded whiny when Marcus was in his face? I
he
thought he sounded whiny there too.
but it wasn't pitchy. I think that's the right term. It wasn't like a high. It just seemed like girly whiny. Whoever did,
like falsetto.
Yes, that's it. Falsetto. Whoever did Jeffrey's voice, it was a falsetto for Jeffrey alone to me. And then when it got to the doctor, it was, oh, my Sabine. But when Marcus did Jeffrey, it was a whine, but he was like, so, detective or officer, are you doing your part? You need to get on your job. You know what I mean? He had a little, it was still whiny, but he did have put a little bass in there. I just felt like Jeffrey's was just a little bitch. I'm sorry. I was not trying not to say it, but yeah.
Well, it is what it is,
It
man.
was. I felt like it was really, why, but the Marcus guy, whoever did his voice, he got on him. He still whined and I can't, my family, we're going to break up, blah, blah, blah. But it still felt stronger. I felt like that narrator was a little stronger for the men.
Okay. Well, I don't know which one is which, but neither of them really bothered me. I think I was too busy focusing on the story that whoever was doing Jeffrey it wasn't like nails on a chalkboard for me. But I did really like Vivian Laney's voice. She did a good job. I liked her.
She did.
Yeah.
And it was at a
So I don't know about those two guys.
well, and at one point, because I had sped up to like 1.2, I think I was at 1.5, and it sounded really cartoonish to me for Jeffrey's voice. And I was like, maybe it's too fast. So I moved it down to 1.2, and it still sounded, a little pitchy, bitchy, whatever. And I'm like, oh gosh. But I couldn't
I
go,
think I listened.
at
Let me see.
1.0 either.
No, I never listened to anything at
Yeah.
1.0 anymore. I think I listened to this at 1.25, I
Okay.
think.
Yeah.
Let me just double check.
But that's what I felt like. It
Yeah.
was becoming like chipmunkish to me for Jeffrey's voice. Because like you said, Vivian did really nice. And then when they switched up to Jeffrey, I was like, whoa, I thought I had sped it up too much. But it was just that narrator. So.
Yeah. Well, overall, I guess the narrators did a good job considering. So 2 out of 3 you liked.
Yeah, that's a nice percentage.
Yeah, it's not bad. It's not failing.
No, it is not. Which, yeah. And I think, like you were saying, the 3 probably even helped with her, the unreliable, reliable viewpoint that she was trying to give us too. That probably all played a part in the story.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes. Okay, so let's rate Dear Wife. What was your rating? I'll let you go first.
Okay. So, since we can't give halves, I'll give it a 4 because I did enjoy it. The ending wasn't the best, but I would say I enjoyed the story. Like I mentioned earlier, there was never a lull in the story to me. Once I got started, I plowed through it. But the ending, and like you were saying too, there were, I won't say that I didn't like some of the things that we discovered. I thought they were interesting, and I think it even made me want to finish the story even more. So I say I'll give it a 4.
Okay, cool. Honestly, I was flipping between a 3 and a 4. I'm still trying to decide real time this very minute, which way to go, because I didn't have enough time to kind of sit with it, I think. But my first instinct when I finished the audiobook was 4. So I think I'll go with that. Although, talking it over, some of the things did bother me. Like, it did bother me how long it took to kind of reveal Marcus is not a good person. It was like walk, 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 run, done. Yeah. So I didn't like that. Although even the walking was a steady walk. It wasn't like you were dragging feet or anything. It was still a good pace. Yeah. But I felt like there could have been a few more things shown to us before we got to around that 70-ish percentage. Yeah. I just didn't like that whole run, done.
Yeah. Which is like, again, we can't go halves because I was at a 3.5, but I was like, we can't do halves, so I might as well just round it up. But yeah, I totally get that.
I did like the story. I liked the premise. At first, one of the drawbacks is I did not necessarily like that I was getting those sleeping with the enemy and Gone Girl vibes, but I was glad when it was something else.
Yes. Because I was like, right, because midway through, I was like, if they try and do a Gone Girl, she's definitely not getting a 4. Because the caliber was not there. So I did, like you were saying, I did like that she didn't go that route. Because if she had went oh God, I would have ripped it apart.
Yeah, been there, done that.
And I was like, please, no.
Yeah, and the fact that she made, Emma / Beth like witty, and the fact that it was her plan the whole time deviated from that sleeping with the enemy story. Because with that, the woman ran, she started a new life, but then the guy found her, and that was accidental. Right. She still killed him, but that was by accident that he found her. This was on purpose. And I thought that the smartness of it was really cool. So she got kind of extra points for that.
Yeah. Right. That she basically became the police officer. I mean, she used every skill that he tried to use against her. She used it to her advantage.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Let us know what you guys rated Dear Wife. And as always, let us know what you guys think of this conversation. And if we missed anything, or if you disagree with something we were saying, let us know. So let's do our fantasy cast now.
Okay.
We have 6 characters. That seems to be the magic number for all of these books, is 6 characters. Yeah. So let's kick things off with Beth/Emma. Who did you pick, Classy?
I picked, can I start off saying this, that the way the plot twist and everything that Miss Belle did with this story, it kind of blew my cast just a little bit. And then I go back and I'm like, no, how could it just blow your cast because of the description? But there were times where we really didn't get a description of a full description like of Jeffrey. So I kind of had to just pick somebody that I could see in that role. Did you feel like she didn't really give a description of Jeffrey? Because the Jeffrey we thought we knew was basically Marcus.
Honestly, all of them, I kind of just, the only person I had a clear vision of was Sabine.
Yeah.
And of course, Marcus's build.
Right.
Okay. It was clear that he was also charismatic and good looking, and he would disarm people with his looks, basically.
Right. He was Italian or Greek. He was dark. Right.
But to me, like, the more I cast these books, the less that matters to me. In my opinion, I feel like it's more important to make a match for what the actor or actress is able to do with the character versus, because we can dye hair.
And you can do some CGI. Can someone say Irishman? Right. The Irishman.
People, if someone needs to build up, they go to the gym for 6 months for a role, right? So if they need muscles, they put their butt in the gym. I even thought about making some of these characters African American. We talked about that just a little bit. I thought about making Beth/Emma that, but then I thought, well, then I'd have to make her sister African American as well. And I just thought that was just too much. So I ended up not doing that, but I was going to. And now with everyone trying to make, and I agree with this, make these casts more full and well-rounded as far as the type of people on screen. I'm okay with changing out some of this. I mean, honestly, Marcus could have been black, or Jeffrey could have been black.
I really saw Kerry Washington as Beth, Emma. I mean, that's who I really saw, and I'm like, okay, she, because the book mentioned she was blonde, blah blah blah. But I really could have seen Kerry Washington being.
To me, the only important thing about Beth and Emma's visually was that her hair was long, because she talked about him yanking her hair and using that as a tool. But she dyed her hair a couple times while she was gone. So to me, I didn't care about her hair color.
Yeah, and I saw that with you, and I was like, oh, I see what she's doing there. I see you over there.
She had that last crazy red at the end.
I said, oh, I see you, Tamara. I see what you're doing there, ma'am.
Yeah.
But okay, so now that I got that out, Beth and Emma, I picked Jessica Biel, who is known, other than being Justin Timberlake's wife, she was Cora from The Sinner. And back in the day, I don't know if you might be a little younger, Seventh Heaven. Did you remember Seventh Heaven?
Yeah, that was on when I was younger. I never watched it, though.
Yeah, so I picked her because of the dark hair. And there's been a couple movies besides The Sinner where she's kind of, I felt like she could pull that, pull it off with the runaway wife, kind of the sleeping with the enemy, hiding and changing her look.
Awesome. Okay, so I picked, I'm going to mess up her last name. Oh, God. I picked Rochelle Lefevre. Oh my God,
Favor.
that's
Yeah,
awful.
the
The
favor.
favor?
Yeah, I know.
I don't know. I apologize, Rochelle. I'm sure that's wrong. But you probably don't recognize her name, but you would know her face. If you remember the first two Twilight movies before, remember it was this big scandal where she was Victoria in the first two Twilight movies and then they
Yes.
changed Victoria because she wanted more money or
Yep.
something.
Yep.
It was that. And she also did some, I guess, a season of Mary Kills People, which I love, which is a Canadian show. It's off the air now. She was on Under the Dome. She's been on other things. You see her around. She has a pretty long IMDb filmography page.
Oh,
So
okay. But I do remember that. I do.
she's known for this striking red hair, but I have seen her in photos with blonde hair and different color hair. So
Okay. Yay.
yep.
I
Okay.
like your pick.
Thanks.
I do. When I saw your pictures, I was like,
Uh-huh. Okay, let's move on to her dreadful husband, Marcus. Who did you pick?
I picked, come on, I'm trying to pronounce his name. Joseph Manganiello. Joseph Manganiello. And he is Sofia Vergara's husband and also Big Dick Richie from Magic Mike.
Or for True Blood fans.
Yeah. That too.
That too.
Yeah. I didn't watch True Blood, so I didn't want to pronounce any names incorrectly like I did last time from, what is it, Walking Dead. I pronounced someone's name wrong. So, but yeah.
Girl, you hear me butchering people's
I
names
know.
today. It's fine.
But yeah, I picked him because of the description early on. He was distractively attractive. He was either, he had strong genes, either Greek or Italian. So again, I picked that based upon the description from the book.
Okay. I picked Jake Gyllenhaal, and I picked him because, first off, he is the cutest thing.
Oh my God, my heart flutters.
If he came up to me and started asking me questions about somebody, I might answer. But I can also see him getting very ridiculous real fast. I can see
he seems like he could
kind
flip,
of role.
doesn't he?
Yeah.
He seems like he could flip in those eyes. Oh
yes.
my God. When I saw your pick, I was like, I love him too much to be an abusive husband.
Oh God, right? It's sad. And I thought about that. I'm like, that would be awful. But you know, it's fiction.
Yeah,
it's all fiction.
And right, and he is a very good character actor. You know, he he's played so many different roles. So that just goes to show you that
he's got the chops. He can do it.
He does.
And I bet like he would be really scary when he's acted like an enraged, wife beater. I could see him being really scary looking.
You know what? When you showed your pick, all I could think of is come on. When Beth mentions the one scene where I think she says you need to switch to water, and he rubbed her arm and spoke in her ear, and I was like, yeah, she got him. Jake is a good pick, because all I can say is, don't you ever, if you embarrass me again. I was like, yeah, Jake could play that role.
See, oh my God, some of those scenes, let me just say, that is why I feel like I would never be in that kind of situation, because I would brain someone in their sleep with a pot. They would not be awake for days. Because we gonna get this cleared up, and then I'll be gone. You wake up, I'll be long gone. Yeah. But you gonna have
one time
memory loss and a headache for a really long time.
You only have one time.
Yeah, that's it.
I've seen abuse in my family too much, to even let that happen. No. All right.
So, anywho,
yes.
All right, let's move on to Sabine. Who did you pick for her?
I picked Margot Robbie, and I picked her because Jeffrey described her as being bubbly with the ponytail up high, and all I could think of was Harley Quinn from Suicide Squad. And okay, I'm gonna stop. But that's why I picked Margot. I just thought she was cute, perky blonde. And I mean, she's played some a variety of roles too besides Harley Quinn. She was Naomi in The Wolf of Wall Street.
Yeah.
So, and then I think she played Tanya Harding in I, Tanya. So
Yeah, she was good in that too.
yeah, so I felt like she could play that role. I almost wanted to pick Rosamund Pike from Gone Girl, but I was like, I won't go there.
Okay, well, I picked someone that's very different but very alike as far as visually. I picked Blake Lively.
Yeah.
Everyone knows her.
Yeah.
You know, she's married to what's his face, who plays
Ryan.
Deadpool all the time. Yeah, Ryan. But I picked her again because she's blonde, she's bubbly. I could see her selling houses without a big deal and making a bunch of money and cheating with the doctor. I could see all of that coming out of this actress because she's done some of that type of sleazebally things in some of the shows I've seen her in.
Yes.
Yeah, so, you know, if you don't know her, she was on, I think, Gossip Girl for like the longest amount of time, but she's been in like Age of Adeline. She's been in The Shallows, that shark movie. She's been the most recent thing that people really know her from was A Simple Favor, which was really good.
Yeah. I think I picked her for another one of our cast too, and that's why I picked from that movie because man, she was good.
Yeah, she was. Yeah. So okay, so I do like your pick. I do think your pick would be a solid pick, but I like mine too.
I know you do. All right.
But you get props. Yours was good. Okay, so let's see. How about Jeffrey, who is like the dumb husband that needs the little blue pills because he's such a loser. But I mean, if
his
he wasn't
wasn't working right, it wasn't. He was a loser.
Look, okay, that was just like the icing on the cake, okay? If he was an okay person, I would just be like, that's just sometimes that happens in life. That's just sometimes what happens. But you're such a awful person. That's like typical. That's what you deserve.
So you're like, poor Tink Tink. he needs a little blue pill.
I mean, something. But okay, so who did you pick?
You know, and I struggled with this one. Like I said, I just could not really see Jeffrey in my mind. So I picked James Franco. He was like one of the first ones to come to my mind because I was like you were saying, I just felt like he was a type A dork, jerk, and I saw James Franco. And Franco, and when I looked up Franco, I thought he has done more notable movie selections, but it did nothing that I remember. So from what I remember him being in is like Pineapple Express. What was the one movie with the two brothers that were the artists? But I'm like, I thought he played in other notable movies. Can you think of anything that you like can remember Franco from?
Honestly, I feel like wasn't he in like a Spider-Man movie?
Oh, he was like a villain or something, right?
Yeah, maybe. He was like the son of somebody or something, like the Green Goblin or something. Okay. Maybe it was the son.
All right. See,
I don't know how. You know, I think my husband had me watching all these superhero movies. I'm like,
well, that's good. You know your Marvel, DC, whatever.
I kind of do. It's kind of crazy. Okay. So I picked Eric Winter, and he is somebody that I guarantee you will not think of his face when you hear his name. But if you look him up, you'd be like, oh yeah, that guy. He's that guy that just shows up in a bunch of stuff. Yeah. Literally, he's been all over the place. His newest show is The Rookie, which I really like that show, actually. It's about like new cops, but he plays someone that is very similar to Jeffrey, like very type A, very asinine acting. Yeah. So I'm like, his character on The Rookie reminds me of Jeffrey, minus the whole, you know, he seems like he's even hard with his women. Like, he seems like he has a hard exterior, really hard to crack, very follow the rules. Everything must have its place, la, la, la. I mean, that really reminded me of Jeffrey, that character. Okay. So when I was looking for people, I'm like, wow, well, I know he knows how to play someone like him.
Right. Okay. Yeah, but I know his face. I wouldn't have known the name, but I do know his face.
I had to look it up. I had to literally, because I saw him in my mind's eye, and then I had to go to IMDb, look up the Rookie because I knew he was on that
Oh,
show.
okay.
Then click on the cast, then find his name because I had to go backwards. Like I saw him in my mind. I was like, oh, I know who acts like this now on TV, but I couldn't think of his name.
Oh gosh. So that's good.
Yeah.
I like your pick. Like I said, I could not. Yeah, I struggle with Jeffrey.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's a free for all for him.
Yeah, it is. It really is.
Yep.
All right. Who's
Okay.
next?
Ingrid is next. That is the twin
To Sabine.
of Sabine. Mm-hmm.
And I picked Hannah Murray, who is known as Gilly from Game of Thrones. Polar opposite of Margot Robbie, Sabine, so she was probably one of my first picks, knowing the difference in the two. So that's who I picked.
I picked Lena Dunham.
Yeah.
And I love her.
You did good.
And I think I can see her being like Ingrid, being really rude and obnoxious to Jeffrey.
Yes.
I can see her being that. I know everything because that reminds me of her character on Girls a little bit. Like I could see her acting like that in that way. But I also picked someone that was polar opposite to Blake Lively.
Right.
So Blake is tall and blonde and, super skinny. And Lena is not.
Right.
Right.
She's a little boxy, isn't she?
She is. And she's shorter and she's got dark hair naturally. And I just see her just being that quirky person that is opposite of someone super chic.
Yeah. You won that one hands down. I really do.
Oh,
when I saw that, I was like, yes, Lena, that's perfect.
Mm-hmm.
Perfect pick.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, so last but not least is Martina, and we didn't talk a lot about Martina, but she is like the woman who befriends Beth in the little place she finds to live, and she gets her the job at the church or whatnot.
Right.
So let's talk about who you picked for her.
I picked Dasha Polanco, who is known on Orange is the New Black.
Orange is the New Black, yes.
Yeah,
and I knew her name too. I'm like, oh yes, Daya.
Well, Daya. And I love her, Dasha.
Yeah.
And I was like, curvy Latina, and she's sassy. So that's who I picked.
I like your pick. Your pick was really good. So I picked Dania Ramirez. Mm-hmm. I'm not sure which way. Right. Here I go with the names. Good Lord. So I think I remember her most from Devious Maids.
Oh, yeah. I forgot about Devious Maids.
Yes. But she was also in Once Upon a Time as Cinderella.
Yes, I totally forgot about that.
Mm-hmm. She was in Heroes a little bit, like one of the Heroes seasons, just one season. So she's been in she has a pretty good list on IMDb. Okay. So she's another one of those people that just kind of appears places.
Right.
She's not like a mega star or anything, but I thought she would fit.
Right. Not like a lead, but a good supporting cast member. So,
but I like your pick better for that.
Yay. So
I can see her tussling with some young girl who stole something and accused her of stealing something.
Yes, that's I thought the same. Little head rolling.
And it's funny because I almost said, you know what? I'm about to look at the Orange is the New Black cast again and pick somebody else off that cast. But then I'm like, no,
they had
I'm
some
not
good
gonna
ones.
do it.
Yeah, they
did. But I'm like, I'm not gonna copy.
Oh, I just wait when we do our cast and I send you my because I just send you because I'm like 9 times out of 10, and I believe probably every time we've done a cast, either you pick somebody who I almost picked or vice versa. It's like I said, I almost picked Jake, and I think that was it from your list was Jake. But I think even our last picks, I was like, yep, I almost did. So it's fun. I really enjoy doing this. But before we go, I got one thing to ask you.
Sure.
Do you think from Dear Wife, the way it ended with her calling Martina, do you see that possibly being another story?
Oh, I hope not.
Yeah, I thought.
I'm done with this group of people. I don't think so.
No?
I mean,
Okay.
honestly, I think Kimberly Belle only writes standalones.
Okay.
To my knowledge.
Gotcha.
And I hope she keeps up with that because it's refreshing not to have a series.
Yeah, it is.
It's refreshing.
Yeah.
It seems like everything is a series.
Yeah, and that kind of, it takes away because sometimes it takes too long to get to the next book. So I was just wondering because I just felt like Martina her storyline had a lot that we possibly could have known, but then again, they were all kind of the people in Miss Sally's house were vagrants and
Miss Sally could have her own story.
Oh, Charlie, that room. As my mother.
And it's funny because the whole time Beth never made me feel like Miss Sally was a man, but when Marcus came, I was like, oh dang, Miss Sally's a man.
Oh, you didn't think so?
I knew it was at the end when she got a hug from her.
Yeah, but remember she said she thought she was, but when she checked to see if she had a 5 o'clock shadow, she didn't. And she said, okay, then maybe the makeup was just thick. And she just thought she was a big Amazon woman. But she did think
and I kind of took it at that.
Yeah. Until she hugged her, she was like, oh. Miss Sally.
Like, is that a gun in your pocket, Miss
Sally? Well, or when she said that the room with all the erect penises statues, I was like, oh, Miss Sally.
She's a character. So I'm sure she could have her own story. She probably could have a bunch of stories with all the people that come through her house.
Yeah.
So, but yeah.
Okay.
Fun times.
Yes. Always.
Yeah. So guys, let us know what you thought of our fantasy cast options. Let us know who you would choose if you see different people or if you like ours. Let us know that too. And of course, you can find us on Shelf Addiction Official in our Facebook group, and we can talk about it there as well.
Great. Love to hear your views.
Indeed. So I think that's it. Are we done, Classy?
We are.
Okay.
Always fun. Always fun.
Okay, guys, that is it for today. If you'd like to talk with us about Dear Wife, again, you can find us on Twitter and in Shelf Addiction Official. Take care, and until next time, happy reading. Bye, guys.
Bye.
If you enjoyed today's book chat episode and would like to show your support, there are a few things you can do. Head on over to Apple Podcast and leave a positive 5-star review. You can follow me on Twitter at Shelf Addiction. Most importantly, you can share this podcast with friends and family that enjoy all things bookish, including author interviews. Thank you for listening, and until next time, happy reading.